Okay, here's the start of my first ever What If Deku video. This is a What If Deku was a Space Marine. So, if you're wondering which chapter I'm going for the Minotaur chapter. I'm gonna go with my own thoughts and say they are blood angels, so no one complained about it. This is gonna be a 18 plus, so no one should be doing any stupid comments. So I'll start the video now. So we start off with Deku's dad, Hisashi, and a company of Minotaur what are they called? Scout Marines. Is currently on on a planet. This is during the war against the Astral Claws and the Lamenters. So, he had just gotten through a complicated battle against some Astral Claws and had executed 3 of them. His battle brother, Leon, says, "Brother, we have taken 5 casualties. Our apothecary is dead. What shall we do?" As Hisashi says, "Hold your horses, brother. We have to fall back to the main location of our chapter master." So, everyone prepare to move out as they all get up, as they start walking towards the main camp of the Minotaurs on that planet. As they get there with no problems, as Hisashi says, "Chapter Master, we have taken some casualties, but we're doing good. Sorry for my computer shutting off. I have to do it this way because, yeah." As the chapter master says, "It's okay, Hisashi. Now prepare some defenses and ready for combat. We will be moving out in a bit." As some plague marines start charging, they say, "For Naga! For Grandfather Naga, we shall give you his gifts." As the chapter master says, "Die, heretic!" as he shoots his bolter into them. As Hisashi picks up uses his spear to run one of them through. As they get into melee combat, chainsword versus chainsword, scythes versus spears, power claws versus power fists. But what these these Nurgle worshippers don't understand is that Hisashi squad has a Terminator with them. I don't have a picture of a Terminator currently. Just imagine the Terminators of these guys. As then Hisashi goes into the red thirst. As then he goes charging into the horde, slaughtering a bunch of Nurgle Space Marines and Death Guard. As then a psyker of the Nurgle worshippers sends him into the warp, thinking that he would make a good present for Nurgle. But then we cut back to to his squad mate's view, as they get overrun and killed by Nurgle demons and Nurgle Space Marines. There was even a unclean one. And that's when they knew they were dead. Because I don't see the Minotaur chapter actually killing a unclean one. That's just super hard to do. I'm pretty sure none have died so far in the books, or in the lore. So, correct me on that if one has, but we cut back to Hisashi, who's stuck in the warp, as he starts praying hard and fast, saying, "God Emperors, this is your holy son, Hisashi Midoriya, one of your avenging arrows. In this time of need, may I ask you save me from the fate that Nurgle worshiper and Chaos Scum sent me to." As he feels himself getting yanked in a different direction than towards Nurgle dimension. As then he sees a portal opening up, a warp rift, if you will, opening up. Then the portal spits him out into the My Hero Academia universe. As then he starts to feel dizzy because, he just got yeeted through the warp. He would be dizzy. So, he starts standing up and starts walking around, looking around, as he pulls out his bolt pistol that he had, as he says, "I have a bad feeling about this." As then he hears ruffling in a bush, as he turns and starts firing bolter rounds into the bush. As then he starts levitating, as his gun falls out of his hand, as he says, "Warp sorcery!" As then a somewhat young-looking Eldar walks out of the bush and says, Space Marine. As that's and then she says, if you don't try to kill me, I won't try to kill you, okay? Just know this is my first time. This is my first ever try at this. I may do a redo in the future. But then he says, then he kind of feels that he's kind of not in the situation not to do so. As he says, okay. As then she lets him out and he just stands up. Not picking up his bolter or anything. Just stands up. Says, so, what's a space marine doing on this planet? I haven't seen one of your kind in eons. And if you're wondering, yes, this is Inko. So, who do you think you are, woman, to attack a Eldari scum to deliver orders to a space marine of the Adeptus Astartes? As she says, the one that used psychic abilities and nearly killed you. As he says, good point. As he says, and then just picks up his bolter and starts walking away. Not knowing where he's going, but he just knows he needs to take a walk. And he finds a cave and decides, this looks nice. As then he just flops on the ground. As this wasn't too far from where Inko was. As she could legitimately see him from where she was. As she says, this stupid space marine, and picks him up with her psychic abilities and walks home with him. As he wakes up a day late the next day, as he looks around, as he goes, oh, where am I? I'm not in the cave. And she says, no, dumbass. As he looks at her, like, wait, how did I picked you up with my sorcery. So now, just deal with it. As he says, okay. So, is this an Imperial world or is this an Eldar world? Because I doubt that's Eldar. Sorry for that. Let me plug in my phone. As she says, no. This world is neither Imperial or it's human, but it's not Imperial. They have these things called works. I have been studying that. I got here through a warp portal just as you. So, has anyone else come through warp portals? As she says, no one. Just bits and pieces of scrap. I found like a old arm of a Terminator arm piece. As she says, which chapter? Of something called the Black Legion. As she says, heresy traitors. As how she is old. He is as old as the chapter master, who is over 3,300 years old. And I'm saying the Minotaurs live longer than most space marines because Sanguinius. Oh yeah, and this is somewhat gonna be a deku slash Sanguinius one. He's gonna be kind of like Sanguinius at that point, but so what do we do now? And she says, I need to go to work. I don't know. You can do whatever you need to do. You can have the basement for now. But I'll go out and get you some clothes, because I doubt you are wearing anything under your armor. As he says, no, we never wear anything under our armor. I'm legitimately just wearing underwear. As she says, that's what I thought. I'll get you some stuff whilst you're here. Okay, so bye. As she leaves, is then he gets on his comms and tries to communicate to anyone. And just so you know, Deku is gonna have somewhat of a quirk. As years go by, as they get to know each other, all that. As eventually, they get married. And they do the same. I'm not getting into detail currently because I'm do that in the second episode. As he says, as she then tells him she's pregnant. As he says, she thinks she just broke Hisashi, which she did break Hisashi. He was not expecting that day, because at that point he had gotten used to the society and was working for a construction site, as how he explained his absurd build. So then he walked away into his room and just sat down thinking about it. As she let him do that, as I'm gonna skip to when Deku is 4. So Deku is 4 now. They're going to check if he has a quirk, as we all know the same thing that happens in canon. That's not gonna change. The quirk is gonna be kind of a hidden thing for now, as I'm pretty sure this isn't, but just as then she says, it's okay, I'm sure you'll get something from your father on me, my abilities. As then he cheers up a bit, because he already knows his mother has some sort of powers, and his father is both, but he doesn't know the exact reasons why. So, oh yeah, and he had 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. The sister legitimately is currently at that court doctor as well, as he says, good news, your daughter has a low power telekinesis quirk. So basically Inko's quirk, just a bit better. And just know they're gonna come into big things later in the series. As then he says, but the other boy has a very, very weird quirk. He can make this these weird things of he can basically just use magic at a point. We're designating it as an elemental quirk, but calling it magic because we don't know the exacts. As she says, okay, as they all drive back home. Oh yeah, and All Might and All For One are still gonna get their respectable injuries. That's not gonna really change. Nothing really is gonna change up until Deku is 5. So when Deku is 5, his mother says, "Honey, come here." As then he walks over to her. As then she sits him down. As then she starts doing, well, a psychic ritual on him. Let's see if he has any psychic powers. As then she realizes he has 3 psychic powers. She only has 2. Psychic flames and psychic reading, which she can read your mind or tell you stuff, like psychically tell you stuff, like telepathically tell you stuff. As she sees, he has 3 abilities. She sees he has psychic fire, just like her. He has psychic flames, psychic lightning, so basically he's gonna go Emperor Palpatine on someone. And then he has this weird one that we're gonna get into a bit later in the series as well. It's called Essence of Sanguinius. Because I'm saying Sanguinius had some psychic powers because he had wings, for God's sake. You can't really go into the warp not get those psychic powers. As then, his father also checks him for something that the Minotaurs have. It's called the Minotaur's horns. As he checks his head and sees he has small little horns growing. His father didn't have them. It's kind of a defect in their gene seed. But he thinks his son would get them because it is his genes, but it's also a seed. So it's in his genes. So he thought his son may get the horns, but he didn't know. But his son did get the horns, which he's thinking, is he gonna turn out like a Primarch at this point? Because if gene seeds working like this, who knows? Then he, after checking for the horns, he just ruffled his hair for that. He did kind of convert. He didn't do it like his mother, who legitimately did a whole ritual on him. And she didn't tell him what she saw. She didn't even tell Hisashi what she saw. As then he walks away, back up to his room, and just falls asleep. Now we cut to when he's 13, in middle school. He's getting bullied still by Bakugo and all of them. As then Bakugo sends an explosion at him. As then, like, these ethereal wings wrap around him. to protect him from the explosion. See, I told you, Sanguinius's aura is gonna come into play a bit later, but this is only the starting phase of it, as then the explosion disperses onto the wings as they go away just as fast as it hit. Deku is slowly gaining his psychic ability powers. Slowly. And he will gain more than just the 3 I've told you about. But then, Deku walks away, kind of confused, that day. He got a bit of detention, so did Bakugo, but they didn't know what to classify the wings as. Is it a quirk? Is it not? They didn't know. And they told Inko about it. She just assured them that it's neither. It's just a self-defense mechanism. But only one saw the wings was Bakugo and the teacher, so that's why the other students aren't bugging him about the wings. As then he gets home and hears his mother and his father arguing. As he listens in and hears Inko say, "We shouldn't tell him. He's way too young for me to tell him about the abilities." As Hisashi says, Inko, if he gets those implants, if he decides that he wants to go down my lineage, he has to know when he is. This is the only time we can tell him, because once he turns 15, it's slowly gonna get harder and harder. 18 is the max. If it goes any higher, it will kill him. And she says, "Alright, we'll tell him." As then they look over and see Deku standing there. As they're shocked, because they didn't even hear him walk in. They were arguing so loud. As then he says, "What do you want to tell me?" As she says, "Just go and sit down on the couch." As then they start explaining what a Eldar is, what a Space Marine is. I'm not gonna go into depth because, gosh, I don't remember the lore that good. And Deku says, "Okay," and then he says, "I want to be like Dad and be as strong as him," as he says. As Hisashi in his head is going like, "Oh boy, my son is going through hell." As that's what Deku goes through. Every day after school until he was 13, until he was 14, he was trained rigorously by his father. Then when he was 14, Hisashi, even though he isn't a, what are they called again? Apothecary, but he had some knowledge of apothecary's work. So he self-implanted the organs for Deku. His mother wanted to put anesthesia to Deku, but Hisashi said no. He can't have anesthesia whilst the implants are getting put in. I'm sorry, but he has to feel the pain. And she tried arguing with him, but she was far too unknowledgeable about the task, so she just allowed it. Then he does it, and Deku was screaming the whole time, but they were doing this in like a soundproofed room, so it couldn't be heard. And then once he was finished, he laid Deku in a special chamber to like let him regenerate his flesh that was cut apart. As then Deku wakes up the next day, ready for school, as he thinks, but it's spring break, as his father even stops him from leaving, because Deku is not fully healed yet. So, yeah, so he goes through even more training throughout the summer after he heals. Every day off, he trained rigorously, because Minotaurs are surprisingly undamageable. They're like Mortarian's Death Guard level of unkillable. That's why it took the Death Guard to actually kill them. They didn't get the whole chapter though. I only said his company got killed. I didn't say the whole chapter got killed. So they'll come into play later. But then Hisashi says, okay, that's all I can really train you on for now, until we get those other implants. Which 2 years have gone by so far. I forget which the organs go in, but I'll remember soon. So